I want to thank you all for coming and sharing your story today. It's so important, and this is such a great event. I want to talk to you each to talk about your journey to get to this point, to being an advocate.
With Jared, immediately when he passed away, I knew why he passed away, even before the test results came. And I made a decision then I wasn't going to hide his cause of death. So that was the start of it. Going forward, his fans started reaching out to me, just telling me how his music helped them with anxiety and depression. And some said it stopped them from committing suicide. And I just remember the moment I felt like it was a void. And I felt like it wasn't a voice telling them, you know, like my son would tell them it's okay, you're not alone, and, you know, not to suffer in silence. That voice was gone, and I felt like I had an obligation as his mother to continue his message. And so I decided to start Live Free 999 and just let people know not to suffer in silence and provide the resources to extend help to those who are hurting.
Yeah, for me, dealing with reality, because you always think your kids are going to outlive you. And growing up in the ghetto, growing up in poverty, I used to always see some household. I grew up in the project, so I always seen a household where it was somebody hiding their kid in the back, some mental issues, just because you done been through so much tragedy, and you never had counseling, you never had people to take care of these people, even medicine-wise. I feel like a lot of young people that are dying are self-medicating. And so with me, I wanted to tell my story because I love my daughter so much to where I was angry. Because before this process, we've been going through this for years. And so this is not a secret. I wanted to, just because I'm successful, I wanted to let people know that this could happen in any household. So mental illness also go to self-medicating, being around the wrong people, and they say you are who you hang around. So I had the problem with my daughter. I was like, leave these people alone, don't mess with this guy no more, do this, and she'll listen, but then when she walk out the door, she go do whatever she want to do. So it's also about accountability. I'm tired of parents holding themselves accountable. The Bible says once you're 12 years old, you are accountable for your own sin. And so I wanted to get that message out there to say that if my daughter was in the hospital, I could help. Once she had passed, there's nothing I could do. So I have to give it to God, but I want to save other lives. So that's why I'm out turning my pain into passion for a purpose. And I want to touch other families, but I want to be real about this. We're not going to sugarcoat this. And just being here with this wonderful lady and knowing everything she's been through, and being there with this gentleman, knowing everything, because nobody know how real it is until you get to that funeral home. Yeah. Like, I've never thought I was going to have to do something like this. And so hopefully we could help save other lives if we couldn't save ours own kids and family members. So that's what this is about for me today. And we're just going to keep it real. So anybody have any questions? I done seen it all, been through it all. And I'm going to give, even in Hollywood, because you're everywhere. But this happening everywhere. And so to me, this is not about the Hollywood side. It's what about the kids at the John Doe's? They have 400 other kids in the morgue that nobody know about. And so that's what my message is about today. How do we help those kids? Because I come from there. If I didn't make it, I wouldn't even be here today. I'd just be another John Doe. So it's just so many other kids and families that we could help save. And me being with NAMI, to being an ambassador, I'm going to do my job. I feel like this is my most important job. Like, instead of holding my head down, I'm going to get out here and do my part.
Thank you. I didn't grow up in the projects. I grew up in the house that Mort built. I am the son of the entertainer Robin Williams. His dying by suicide, was not my first experience with suicide in the family. When I was 12 years old, my cousin died by self-inflicted gunshot when he was 13 years old. And after my father passed away, I experienced a downward spiral that involved me self-medicating, descending into alcoholism. And by the way, it's not like my father's suicide just automatically, instantly afflicted me with alcoholism. This is something that related to a long spiraling journey into alcoholism. And through that experience, I realized a couple things had to change. One was I needed to turn things around if I wanted to continue living. I needed to find healing. And initially for me, the path to healing started in the prison system, working at volunteering at San Quentin Prison, teaching financial literacy. That quickly segued into, or evolved into, learning that sharing my story, being vulnerable, and ultimately sharing about my mental health journey and my experience was an additional part of my healing process. And what I discovered through that was service was my path to healing and happiness. What I also discovered is that I had to stop abusing myself and had to treat the underlying conditions of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and depression, and find stability and foundation if I was going to be of service for anyone. So I had to show up for myself first prior to showing up for anybody else. Since that time, I've proudly become a mental health advocate. I work with several organizations, some in this room, and the experience that I have is that I hope I can give my children a world, I can help contribute to a world where they can find their peers, their community stigma-free, and they can feel safe, comfortable, and secure being vulnerable and open, finding resilience with high quality access and parity of care. That's a world that I hope that we can live in. When it comes to stigma, there is a media component that's very prevalent that we can establish a lot of change around, ideally catalyzing here today. But also there's a sense that, in the cultures that I grew up in, and on my father's side, it was a culture of permissibility and openness. On my mother's side, it was an Italian-American culture, New Haven, Connecticut, and in that culture, you were either fine or you were sent to, an institution, a funny farm, and there was nothing in between. You just either figure it out as, walk it off, in many situations, drink it off, and that didn't lead to outcomes that many folks in my family wanted. And so what I learned over time is that the more that we isolate and set up protective mechanisms, whether they're fear-based or whether they're based upon, us seeking coping mechanisms to manage our lives and our safety, over time, the more that I understood that inner resilience, building up that foundation of being able to be flexible and being able to take things on the chin and be open about it and share the experience, the more you're able to develop a imperviousness that I think is extremely powerful, more so than any shield that you can put up, whether it be emotional or otherwise.
Carmel, I wanted to go back to you. You've talked about your son being so young when he passed and being thrust into this industry, not really knowing what he was getting into. And I think you spoke, when we spoke about a week ago, about being frustrated, even angry about how the industry and the peers and the people closest to him didn't warn you or didn't try to intervene. Can you talk a little bit about that frustration, especially as it comes to the industry?
Yeah, so my career was quality management. So when Jared became Juice World, I left my job to just help manage things after a while, and it was a lot that I didn't know. But I just observed he just had, people around who just wanted to hang around him, and they just wanted to be a part of a party. And so they enabled him. And no one was there to just say no. Someone would quietly, a few people would quietly, but they weren't in his inner circle But it was very frustrated, not knowing a lot about the industry and not really being able to control things because I managed him, coming up. I made sure that he had his appointments. Anything he needed, I made sure it was done. But in this industry, I felt like I was an outsider because, it was so new to me. It was so much that I didn't even know that I didn't know. So I felt alone. I felt like I couldn't really help him the way I wanted to. I would always have open conversations with him, but it was just the element that was around him that I just really couldn't penetrate, which I struggle with.
Do you feel like the industry, how much, and this is for all of you, how much do you feel like the industry played a part in what happened?
Well, I know my son, and my son did what my son wanted to do. So he has to own the addiction part. It's addiction. So, he dealt with addiction. So I don't know if I would necessarily blame the industry. I think it would have been nice to have someone to help me navigate so I could know how to best address his needs and to, get a better idea on how things worked. But I don't think I could honestly say I blame them. Now, was he crying out for help in his music? Yeah. I think somebody could have maybe challenged him in getting help or, dealing with that addiction because he sang a lot about drugs. And, his music was catchy and people loved it, but he was singing about drugs. And as a mother, hearing your child sing about drugs is disturbing, So that piece of it, I felt like maybe it should have been addressed. Some of the things he was saying. Even if somebody was saying, "Are you okay?" Like this one song he had called "Fast," and he wrote all his music off the top of his head. And it was one of the lyrics is like, I've been feeling bad, moving fast, and people are just saying, "Hurry up and get your bag." So basically dismissing how he's feeling. So that was his way of crying out. So I think maybe, especially when they're really young, because my son went from high school to stardom within a year. So, I didn't even have a chance to really wrap around it. So it was a lot for him, being sheltered, to come into this world where everything is there. So I think it would be nice on the industry part to just have a guide or support for families, for people who are new to that industry.
How do you feel that, I hear and listen to your stories, and there's signs there, and there's pain there, and what do you know now that you wish you knew in order to try to maybe help more or to try and intervene, or maybe there's it's just even hard to do to get that.
With him, I had conversations with him. I talked to him openly about drugs and addiction and my biggest fear of him overdosing. So I had the conversations. We talked about him getting help. He told me he was going to get help. He just didn't make it to that point where he could. I don't think it was really anything more I could do, but just tell him the truth.
We can't just sit around and be like, "Oh, well, I'm going to let this go." No, don't let it go. You got to fight, communicate, then you still might not win. Because for me, fentanyl, one little piece of it, you're out of here. Anybody, I don't care if you're a superstar, you somebody in the hood, whatever, it don't matter. It's fair game now. The only reason people talking about this now because in these big neighborhoods, their kids are dying. If it's just happening in the hood, nobody be talking about this. So let's change this. We're all losing our kids now. It don't matter whether you're rich or poor. Black, white, Asian, Latino, like this is real. So substance abuse is real, and it starts from mental illness. What somebody going through, my thing was, my kids look at me like I talk tough, I talk loud, but I'm passionate about, I'm trying to save lives. So now I asked one of my kids, I say, "Well, what if I just say, oh, you did something wrong, what, you want me to reward you for it?" My grandparents didn't do that. So we all have a charge. My brother died at 19. I don't blame it on my grandparents. They don't. I live with my grandparents, so my kids have everything that I could imagine having. I lived with my grandparents. My grandparents had 12 kids. I ate last, so I should have wanted to kill myself. No, I want to make this better. So we have to communicate and educate. And that's what this is about. Let's stop faking like, oh, well, this. So we watched them. I grew up watching Scarface. Did I want to be him? No, I watched Al Pacino go lay on the beach. When I got to Hollywood, I'm like, he's not that character. That's a character. Some people say the music, the music killing people, right? This entertainment. When these guys go home, but if you really live in that, then yeah, you're gonna have problems. To me, I was like, okay, well, we got to keep growing. We got to keep growing. And so we have to change that narrative. So we only can do that through community, and we only gonna do that with losing people. Because our kids, you know, my daughter didn't think she was gonna die. She probably thinks she's still here now. Think about it. Just one little pill, you gone. And so that's the scary part about this, where these kids got to know, don't put, because me, when I was growing up, my grandparents say, don't drink bleach. Oh, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to just try this. You already said it was poison. You have parents running around, but a lot of these kids are still daredevil. And so my thing is, the reason why I want to do this, to be honest, my family is Christian. So I want to do this the Christian way. I need the church to help me with this. I can't do it on my own. So I want to do it the biblical way. Because when I go and talk to my kids, they don't want to hear, well, why are you saying this? I say, because it's in the Bible. This is what the Bible says about this. So how can we change this if you want to do right? And so for me, just watching somebody commit suicide, watching somebody kill themselves taking drugs, we losing so many people. And it's young people. So I'm seeing parents up here now, and then now we see somebody up for their parent, like, this is real. Mental illness is real. And it's destroying families and it's killing families. And my thing is, the only way we're going to change this, we got to do this together. We stronger together. It's not a black or white thing no more, or Asian or Latino. It's a people thing. And you got to have good people around your family, around your kids. And that's what this is about for me, is putting good people around my kids. But they got to be willing to listen. Because if I get out here and got to go to work, I mean, I have to go to work.
How do you get them? How do you get the message through? How do you get the message and get people to listen?
I'm gonna tell y'all how we get it through real life. What's happening now? Through pain. Nobody's exempt from pain. None of us. But we got to show them the truth. You know, now I have to go. You have to go and take your kids. Okay, you see, because for me, my daughter had lost a friend before that. And I used to argue with her about, you're not doing none of this. No, Dad, I'm not doing none of that. I'm like, this girl was in our house before. And now you gone. So you have to be afraid of something. Like, I think that's the only thing that kept me alive. I was afraid. Because now everybody's not afraid of nothing.
That was one reason why I decided to share what my son died from, because I knew if people were listening to his music,
Yeah.
they were doing those drugs too, some of them. And I wanted them to know the seriousness of it, you know, that it's not just a song that you could really lose your life from. And so.
Yeah.
Was it, I don't know if there was anyone in your life who might have said, like, hey, let's keep this private, let's not put this out there, just, I mean, maybe even to protect your own privacy. Did that ever come up?
Well, I want to tell y'all something about that, right? That ain't real. Like, I done literally, the police come to my house, I got my daughter, know what the police tell me? She's over 18. She don't have to go with you. I'm like, really? She don't have to go with me because she over 18 and you see that she have a problem? The system is already messed up. So think about it. If you know somebody out their mind and they not right, and the police allow them to go back into that world because they're over 18. So we have to set up some type of system to where if somebody's not right, as a parent, as a spouse or whatever, like, we should be able to take that person and do
To that exact point, this week, I've had a family member in LA voluntarily check herself into an institution because she felt dysregulated. She felt like she was going into a manic episode. Within 48 hours, she was telling herself, okay, I'm ready to kind of graduate into another place. My other family member is here, talking through it with her, and she's now over-medicated. She can't qualify to get out of that institution right now because she's been given too much medication. And as a direct result, she cannot go to the facility that she needs to go to until they decide that she is fit. In the case of fentanyl, in the case of certain other drugs, it's too late.
Yeah.
In the case of domestic violence, it's too late.
Yeah.
So what we really need to start saying, you know, the question you asked, is this an industry problem? I'm saying it's in every industry
Yeah.
problem. You know, there just so happens to be certain tax and strategies that we need to take to affect change within this industry. And that's why we're here today.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can't keep on orienting around crisis care because we are not equipped, we aren't resourced as a nation to manage a crisis care situation and solution. We've seen it. I've been, you know, all of us have been here experiencing that situation firsthand. And so what we really need to start thinking about, where are the opportunities for educational intervention, prevention-oriented intervention, lifestyle-oriented intervention? What are the inflection points in someone's life, whether they're a young person or a middle-aged person, even an older person, that we can say, hey, now is the time to learn new behaviors. And here is a set of tools that can be applied to help navigate someone into those new behaviors. Because behavior change doesn't happen overnight. Anyone who's dealt with someone in the throes of addiction can tell you, you can't just tell them to stop doing what they're doing.
Well, for me, I've always tried to replace the negative with something positive. And that's how I've been with my kids. Like, okay, I don't want you hanging with this person. I don't want you doing this. Let's do some positive things. Let's go to the movies. Let's go hang out as a family. But, you know, you always get that call because these people want, oh, well, what you doing? And so, to me, I just think that circle, you are who you hang around. And so, it's tough. It's tough to, young people know more than us now. Think about it, we done been through so much in life, but the kids will tell, oh, no, my daughter told me, I know more than you because we had the internet. You know, think about it, parents are dealing with this. And I'm saying, well, let the internet go pay these bills. You know, and it's just like, that's the page they own. And the internet has really changed. And, you know, think about this too. You're getting a lot of these drugs from the internet now. So you don't even have to deal with the dealers in the community and all that no more. A lot of this stuff comes from a press of a button. Yeah, and they know this. So if you're talking about stopping anything, we got to stop that part of it. Because even when I look at from Mexico and China, where this fentanyl and all this stuff coming from, right? They don't care. We have to care though. We have to be able to tell you, no, it's poison, it's gonna hurt you, and these kids have to be able to listen. So that's the part I was talking about, accountability.
I think that you had talked about your daughter going through rehab and trying to get help. I think with your son, and obviously Zach, you talked about it too. What were some of the tools from those rehabs? Did you think maybe had they stuck with it, or maybe when that were helpful? Like,
He didn't do rehab. He planned on going,
planned on going.
but he never did. Yeah.
For me, it's almost like the whole family going to rehab. Everybody had to be on the same page. With my daughter, her boyfriend had a problem, so she in rehab. We spent all this money for her to go to rehab, and then her boyfriend show up. But I can't do nothing about it because she's 20-something years old. And even the rehab facility, even though I paid for it, she still signed on the dotted line. So she's in control. So to me, I just think that when somebody go to rehab, they have to go for themselves. I can't send them to rehab. You got to be ready. If you look at when somebody else trying to do this for you, it never works for me because it's not your choice or decision to change. You have to really want to change and say, I'm done with this. I feel like me sending somebody to rehab, it's a waste because this is not what they really want. And that's what I've seen with this. And I definitely love everything that they do in the rehabs. But I feel like when you get in there, you have to want that. Like, even if you ask for, like, your kid, a relative have to really come to you and say, I want to go to rehab. It shouldn't be me saying, I need to put you in rehab. That's where I messed up at. Because this is everything that I want. I want to save your life and change it. But do you really want to do that? And so that's what I think rehab is for people that want that, and want that change, and want to live, and want to turn their life around. Because you can get more drugs in rehab if you're not mentally ready for this. You have to stay on the ground a little while and realize what you really want. Most people get up too quick. And that's what I seen is like, don't get up too quick. Stay there, let that pain sink in, and say, okay, I want to change. And I just think that's the way you're going to get up. Because everybody that get up too quick, because my daughter just came out of rehab. And also they say once you get out of rehab and you clean and you mess with the same, so go back, that's when it takes over you, takes your life. So like, I love this, what we doing. We just have to be real about this, and hopefully don't keep these secrets, because other parents are dealing with this and you guys can see this in your house. So I kind of like overlook stuff. I'm thinking, no, this ain't gonna happen to me. So when you see somebody really not right or something wrong, you got to grab them. And I just think that you better grab them before it get too bad. And then you also have to have somebody with you that gonna have your back. So I think like it's gonna take more than one person to help with this. So I just think, like I said, we are stronger together, and I hope that we can, if anybody dealing with this, learn from our situations. I wouldn't wish this on nobody, but going to a funeral home and seeing your child in there, that's the worst thing. And knowing that this could have been prevented, because that kid has a whole lot of life left in him.
Exactly.
The frustrating thing for me too is that quality rehab, quality therapy is generally inaccessible for 95% of Americans.
Yeah.
That's what breaks my heart. And the one kind of lesson that I would say I learned from this experience is that the biggest killer, at least that I've witnessed in the recovery community, especially since the pandemic, is resentment.
Yeah.
And that means, you make it through a first wave addiction, overdose, or something like that. The thing that will keep you alive is to get rid of that resentment.
Yeah.
If we're able to, and this involves communities, family
Talk a little
members.
bit about what that resentment is.
It can be any number of different things. What it involves is it leads to certain behavior and activity that leaves people isolated, feeling disconnected. It's grounded in things like anger, frustration, acting out. If we're able to look at that resentment, identify what it is that's driving that resentment, and are able to kind of break that down into its constituent parts and then treat it, then what can happen is you can orient towards a place of connection, empathy, and love.
What about any other family members, sisters, and brothers you have?
Yeah, I've got 3.
Okay, so what I want to know, when you talk about that resentment, and this is the problem I've been having, everybody's not going to be successful in the family. So I think a lot of kids don't understand that. They think, oh, well, you come from a successful father, then everybody else is supposed to. It's like, I tell my kids all the time, you got to be thankful that one person make it. I never seen 6 Michael Jordans in one house. So you resenting, and you upset, and you angry because you didn't get this and this kid got that. It's like, but we all made it. I'm just saying, like, that to me, I've watched that in so many Hollywood houses, to where all the kids think that they need to outdo the parents, and I'm like,
Well, first off, Percy, can I say that you should be teaching a class in entrepreneurship at Harvard Business School?
I'll take that.
No, seriously. Like, your story and how you built a business, and you also, to my understanding, you are a teacher.
Yeah.
Right? And so, that gives your children a better chance than most in terms of
but
things.
you know what they say, a prophet is not respected in his own home. So I can tell my kids everything, but I can tell other kids something, they're going to stop. Just because to my kids, I'm just daddy. Even all the things I went through and everything I've been through and seen, I'm like, I could show you how to do all this stuff. He's like, well, but no, that's my dad.
Yeah.
But somebody else, if I say, go over here go to the store, go make this to this bank, go do this, they go and do it. I tell my kids that, but Dad, what you mean? I'm like, really? Do you know what I've been through in life? Like, I want to help you. I want you to be. So I think that's the problem that we have too. I want my kids to be better than me. And I can't want that. That's what I start realizing out of all this. Is like, I got kids now that play basketball that could be NBA stars. But my thing is, do you really want this? Because I had to get up 5 o'clock in the morning. I was in the project thinking, I need to get out here. I'm going to shoot these jump shots. It got me to college. Once I got to college, I'm like, okay, I learned business. I start bettering myself from there. But it's like the hunger and the drive is like, oh, we just use daddy money. And then you turn into him. You know, I was like, oh, wait up. It used to be daddy. Now if I say no, it's him. Yeah, I'm like, how did I turn into him?
Our time unfortunately is dwindling, but I wanted to ask you, how has being each one of you, how has being an advocate helped you on your path to healing? I know that this is something you'll never heal from, but how has that helped you?
Helping others, I find, is just helps me. So knowing that I have a purpose, you know, a call, that I'm carrying my son's legacy. That helps me with the healing process. Like you said, it never go away. The sting is gone, but the pain of it, you know, the reality of it will never go away. But I just try to turn it around into purpose and to just bring life from it, to let something birth from it, positive.
Yeah, for me, I'm turning my pain into purpose. I can't sit around in the house and keep thinking about this every day. I want to be that parachute for other families. Like my daughter is my parachute, and I want to keep her legacy going. But I also want to be able to touch other families. Like that's how I heal. I'll never get over this, but the way I heal is to be able to touch other families and say, man, you know, I was able to help this little girl. I was able to help this little boy. So this is what keeps me going. And the ones that are going to listen, because the outsiders are going to listen. I just think that my life is not about being an entrepreneur or being, you know, successful anymore. It's about being a servant. I feel like I'm you know, that's my life at right now. I'm a servant, and I have a real purpose. And I believe in God, and I know that this is the journey that I have to be on. And I know that I can help change lives from experience. So I couldn't talk about this 10 years ago. I could talk about it now. So.
Yeah. I mean, service hits different. It really does. There's no other feeling like it when you're out there in service to others and taking care of yourself to be in service to others. You know, for me, what I realized, I didn't realize this when I started going into advocacy. I didn't realize that I was actually seeking a continuation of a family legacy. Not in the same way. My father stood for very specific things. He wanted to help people laugh and help people learn. For me, I want to help people understand that service is a path to happiness and healing. Mm-hmm. And you know, the thing is that once you have that integrated, no one can stop you ever. They can take away everything from you. Yeah. They still can't stop you. Yeah. You are an unstoppable force, and that cannot be overstated enough. Advocacy makes you unstoppable.
Wow. Well, on that note, that's so powerful. I want to thank all three of you for sharing your stories. Thank you so much.